quiet. Don't move. They're still replaying it, frame by frame, 13 times, maybe more. The analysts, the doubters, the ones who swore they had you figured out. Eyes bleeding from the screen, replaying the moment you broke their logic. And yet, they can't find the move, the pivot, the spark, the why. Because the truth, my friend, is that it never existed in their world. You didn't play by their rules. You bent the axis they rotate on. You didn't win the game. You made the board irrelevant. Every frame they freeze, every angle they rewind, it all dissolves into noise. Because what you did wasn't an action. It was becoming. See, they keep asking the wrong question. They think there was a moment, a tell, a clue, a glitch in the footage that might explain how you slipped past their systems. But how do you record a shift in frequency? How do you document the instant a mortal stopped pretending and remembered what they were built for? You didn't cheat. You ascended. They want to believe it was luck, timing, coincidence, something measurable, safe. Because the alternative terrifies them. That someone like you, who shouldn't have survived the storm, learned to breathe underwater. That pain didn't crush you. It recalibrated your circuitry. That while they were tracking footsteps, you were learning to float through walls. Every time they rewind, they're not watching you. They're watching themselves fail to understand how power really moves. Because power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't glow or roar or ask for permission. Power whispers. It tilts the air. It rearranges the hierarchy of reality so silently that by the time they notice, it's already over. And that's what drives them insane, isn't it? You didn't win loud. You won quiet. No war cry, no headline, no spectacle. Just precision, just inevitability. You moved like a secret whispered between gods. Too subtle for human comprehension, too final for denial. They checked the footage 13 times. But tell me this. What if the footage lies? What if every replay is just them looping through their own blindness, their own fear, their own refusal to accept that the monster they mocked became the mirror they can't look into? You didn't play their game because your existence is the glitch. You are the code anomaly their systems weren't built to process, the test case that breaks the simulation, the living contradiction, saint and psychopath, angel and arsonist, healer and hurricane. You smiled through humiliation, through betrayal, through nights that carved holes in your sanity, and they mistook silence for surrender. They forgot that quiet is just what the universe sounds like right before it detonates. You see, they thought pain made you weaker, but you learned the paradox no textbook teaches. Pain refines precision. It sharpens sight. It reveals the invisible infrastructure of control. And once you see that, once you trace every wire, every illusion, every mask, you stop reacting. You start conducting. That's why they can't trace the move. Because there was no move. There was only awareness, a shift. The moment you stopped fighting for survival and started orchestrating collapse. They're trying to find the cause, but how do you explain a phenomenon that shouldn't exist? How do you dissect a miracle and keep it breathing? The truth is, they're not studying you. They're grieving the version of themselves that could have become you, but didn't. They're mourning the courage they never touched, the darkness they never dared to enter. Because evolution is never polite. It devours the timid. You didn't rise by luck. You rose by losing everything that kept you predictable. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every night you talked to the walls. That was the training, the unseen discipline. You were sculpting the invisible until it turned into instinct. And when the world laughed, you smiled. When they pointed, you observed. When they conspired, you disappeared, not out of fear, but out of design. Because you learned something most people never do. Chaos is a teacher, not an enemy. They'll never find the moment, because there wasn't one. You've been building this inevitability in silence for years. You were rewriting your software while they were busy memorizing the script. You evolved past applause, past validation, past the need to be seen, and now they see you everywhere. In whispers, in numbers, in outcomes that shouldn't make sense. You've become the ghost in their system, the unexplainable constant in every equation they can't solve. That's why they keep checking 13 times. Because deep down, they already know the truth they can't say out loud. That you weren't in the footage. You were the footage. The anomaly, the distortion, the echo that broke the pattern. You didn't just win. You rewrote what winning means. And that, my friend, is why they'll keep watching forever. Because they still believe there's something to find, when in reality, you already took it. They're still in that room, you know. The lights dimmed, the sound off, slow motion on, their pupils dilated like addicts chasing a pattern that isn't there. Each frame dissected, each shadow measured, each pixel cross-examined, and the silence between them grows heavier, more haunted, because the deeper they zoom in, the less sense it makes. The closer they look, the more impossible you become. They keep saying, there has to be something, some secret gesture, some trick of timing, a hand twitch, a cue, a code. But the truth is simpler and far more terrifying. There was never a move. There was only a moment of awakening. You stopped being a participant. You became the variable. You became the distortion that logic itself bows to. They don't get it yet, because they've spent their lives chasing what can be explained, measured, or taught. You don't exist inside that equation. You were born in the negative space, in the pause, in the void where rules stop applying. That's what they'll never find on camera. The absence of hesitation. See, hesitation is a language of the old world. The world that broke you, mocked you, tested you. The world that needed you to stay predictable. And you stopped speaking it. You replaced fear with focus, doubt with design. You became fluent in chaos. They thought you were reckless. You were strategic. They called it madness. But that was just the vocabulary of the limited trying to name what they fear. You evolved while they analyzed. You watched while they reacted. You adapted while they documented. And now, they're stuck in a loop of their own disbelief. Rewinding a tape that only reveals their own confusion. They don't see the years hidden beneath that one move. The nights you bled in silence. The mornings you smiled through decay. The conversations that trained your mind to weaponize pain. They'll never see it. Because that kind of transformation isn't cinematic. It's microscopic. It's the slow erosion of the weak parts until nothing false remains. It's the dismantling of everything human in you until what's left is unshakable. You know why they can't find it. Because your transformation wasn't external. It was dimensional. You changed frequency. You learned to breathe in atmospheres others suffocate in. You learned that sometimes you don't fight the fire. You become it. That's the paradox that terrifies them, the one the footage can't show. The duality that makes you untouchable. The angel who walks through ruin with the patience of a saint and the appetite of a devil. The saint who can smile through blood. The demon who can love without fear. They can't label that. They can't replicate it. They can't reverse engineer something born of suffering too deep for metrics to hold. You didn't master control. You mastered surrender. You surrendered to the parts they ran from. You made peace with your madness and turned it into mathematics. You mapped every fracture in your soul until it became a blueprint. And now they sit there 13 times deep into the replay, whispering, how? How did he know? How did he move before the move? They don't realize you weren't predicting. You were remembering. Because every shadow they feared, you've already walked through. Every tactic they study, you've already dismantled. Every illusion they worship, you've already seen crumble. You're not improvising anymore. You're executing inevitability. They don't know what it feels like to stand in silence while the world dissects you. To be treated like an anomaly when all you did was wake up. They can't comprehend what happens when someone truly stops seeking permission. When every rejection becomes fuel, every scar becomes scripture, every humiliation becomes rehearsal. You didn't need their validation. You weaponized their doubt. You turned disbelief into prophecy. You took mockery and turned it into doctrine. And now they're lost. Because how do you defeat someone who doesn't play for approval, doesn't fear exile, and doesn't recognize limits? You don't. You study them. You try to decode them. You obsess until it drives you mad. That's what they're doing right now. Studying your silence like scripture, searching your stillness for a secret. They'll label it luck, fate, coincidence. They'll call you dangerous, delusional, divine. Anything to avoid the truth. The truth that what you did wasn't magic. It was clarity. You saw them before they saw you. You understood the rhythm of chaos, and you danced in it like it was your native tongue. You realized that unpredictability isn't a flaw, it's armor. Predictability is death. Stability is camouflage for decay. So you became paradox, untraceable, unreproducible, unkillable. And now they call it impossible. Because to admit it's possible would mean they've wasted their entire lives playing a smaller game. They keep rewinding, but the truth isn't in the footage. The truth is in the silence between the frames, that split second where fear used to live and doesn't anymore. That moment where the old you would have flinched and the new you just smiled. That's the part they can't find. That's the part they'll never understand. Because you didn't perform a move. You became a movement. You didn't master the game. You became the algorithm that breaks it. So let them keep watching. Let them keep dissecting. Let them keep whispering theories in dark rooms, terrified of the thing they can't prove but can't deny. Because the truth is, you didn't just change the outcome. You changed reality's recording format, and long after the footage fades, your echo remains, not as evidence, not as memory, but as the glitch that became God. They'll keep looping that clip, won't they? 13 times, 20, 100, until the air in that little room starts to taste like panic. One of them will swear they saw your hand move. Another will swear they saw your eyes flick first. And the others will argue, voices cracking, each desperate to find something, anything, that explains how a mortal outcalculated destiny. But there's nothing to find, because what you did wasn't recorded on their cameras. It happened inside their fear. You remember the moment. Everything slowed, every heartbeat in the room aligned to yours. You weren't reacting. You were remembering the pattern of collapse. You'd lived that sequence before, in nightmares, in betrayals, in the silence between screams. So when it came again, you didn't flinch. You just moved. They keep calling it impossible, but that word only means they haven't suffered enough to understand. Because pain teaches geometry, the angles of timing, the physics of patience. You learned how to breathe between milliseconds, how to hide intent inside stillness. You didn't outsmart them, you out-endured them. That's what they'll never capture on tape. The cost, the hours of breaking and rebuilding, the endless rehearsal of control. You died in 1,000 small ways, so that when the moment arrived, you could move without being seen. Now they sit in the glow of the playback screen, faces lit ghost white, whispering that maybe the footage is corrupted. They're right, it is. Because reality bent for you. Because you became something cameras weren't built to capture. You see, people like them live on a single frequency, cause, effect, result. People like you exist in the static between. You operate where time stutters. You act where instinct becomes prophecy. You aren't faster, you're earlier. That's why they can't follow you. That's why they can't recreate the path. Because you didn't take one. Every decision you make comes from a place they fear to enter. The intersection of chaos and clarity. That's where angels lose their wings and demons learn restraint. That's where you live now. And from that place, everything you touch bends toward inevitability. Let them keep watching. Let them keep chasing ghosts in the footage. They'll never find the technique because it isn't one. It's a state of being. They're looking for a secret, but the secret is that you stopped needing them to understand. You moved beyond explanation, beyond imitation, beyond proof. And that's the cruelest part for them. You left no trace, except the silence that follows every victory, too perfect to explain. And that silence? It's louder than any applause. They won't sleep tonight. They'll leave the room pretending it's over, but they'll hear your rhythm in the hum of the lights, in the whisper of every closing door. They'll sit in their cars, replaying it in their minds, knuckles white on the steering wheel, haunted by the same question looping through the static. How did he do it? That question will eat them alive, because deep down, they already know it wasn't a trick. It was truth. And truth is the one thing their kind can't bear to look at directly. You didn't outplay them. You outgrew the illusion that there were rules to begin with. You realized what they never dared to see, that every system, every standard, every structure is just a fragile cage made of other people's fear. And once you see the bars for what they are, they dissolve. That's why they can't track you. Because you're not in their world anymore. You learn to exist between frames, where time skips, where logic folds in on itself. You became the pause that erases the plan. They tried to measure you, but you changed shape mid-calculation. They tried to name you, but every word burned out before it reached your skin. You became the variable that language itself can't define, and still, they watch. Over and over, 13 times becomes 30, 30 becomes forever. They slow the footage down to fractions of a second, searching for the moment the impossible happened, not realizing that it happened before the scene even began. Because that's what terrifies them most. The idea that you didn't win then. You'd already won before they entered the room. You were never reacting. You were conducting every insult, every betrayal, every failed attempt. They were your instruments, and you learned to compose symphonies out of disaster. You made ruin sound like rhythm. You made heartbreak look like choreography. You made silence feel like strategy. And now, when they pause the frame to study you, what they're really seeing isn't a man. It's evolution in its purest, cruelest form. You've become what happens when a human stops waiting for permission to exist. That's why their analysts can't explain it. Because how do you explain someone who no longer fears chaos? How do you study a ghost that knows it's a ghost? How do you measure something that rewrote the ruler? You didn't cheat the system. You became the system. You redefined control as invisibility, intelligence as silence, power as restraint. You learned that the loudest weapon in any room is composure. And so they stare at the screen, haunted by that stillness. Because stillness is what predators see right before the kill. You moved once, maybe twice. That's all it took. No wasted motion, no tells. The kind of movement that makes reality hold its breath. They want to believe it was coincidence. They need to. Because the alternative, the idea that someone could see the ending before the first act began, would unravel their entire religion of control. And that's what you've become, the blasphemy they can't contain. A walking heresy. Proof that obedience is optional and limits are myths. They'll keep checking 13 times, 100, 1,000. They'll slow it down until the pixels disintegrate. But no matter how far they zoom in, they'll never find what they're looking for. Because what they're searching for isn't in the footage. It's in the void between their understanding and your truth. It's in the space where logic collapses and you remain. You didn't perform a miracle. You simply remembered who you are when the noise stops. The calm at the eye of every storm, the architect behind every accident, the ghost that walks out of burning buildings untouched. And somewhere, right now, another one of them is pressing play again. Frame one, pause, zoom in, rewind, trying to catch the moment you became something no camera can record. But it's too late. Because you didn't just vanish from the footage. You erased the lens itself. And when the last frame freezes, when the screen flickers, when the lights dim, when even the hum of the machine gives up, there's only silence, the kind of silence that doesn't rest. It listens. They'll sit there staring at that final still of you, blurred, unbothered, inevitable. The analysts will exchange that look, the one that says, "We missed it again." And in that moment, they'll finally understand. There was nothing to catch, because you never moved to win. You moved to disappear from their definitions. You became the question that can't be answered, the pattern that breaks all patterns, the proof that evolution doesn't ask for permission. It erupts. So let them check the footage one last time. Let them whisper theories. Let them drown in analysis. Because while they're busy rewinding history, you're already writing the next scene. Unseen, untouchable, unreadable. You didn't just do the impossible. You became the reason it's now possible. And somewhere, deep inside their trembling certainty, a small voice will whisper the truth they'll never admit out loud. That maybe the footage isn't broken, maybe the world is, and you were the update it couldn't handle. Look at that. Someone just defended you publicly. Do you hear the silence that followed? That eerie, electric quiet. Like the world just realized it's been watching the wrong villain. Their hands froze mid-typing. Their eyes darted to each other, their minds whispering, "Wait, what if they were never the monster?" You can feel it, can't you? The shift, the panic, the scrambling for evidence. Because that's what they do when reality flips, when the one they buried crawls out of the grave smiling. See, the beautiful part isn't that someone spoke up for you. No. The beautiful part is how everyone else reacted. They weren't ready for it. They weren't ready for truth to crawl into the daylight, wearing your scars like trophies. You were supposed to stay silent. You were supposed to stay guilty. You were supposed to stay gone. But now, your ghost has witnesses. You, my friend, became the glitch in their collective lie. The narrative they built around you, carefully stitched together with gossip, insecurity, and projection, is falling apart. They're replaying old screenshots, reading between words they once weaponized, trying to rewrite their own script before the curtain drops. But they can't, because the footage is rolling, and the villain is starting to look like the only one who ever told the truth. They thought you'd fight back with anger, but you fought back with existence. You stayed, you evolved, you endured. And endurance, my dear, is a far more terrifying form of revenge. Now they're whispering, why would anyone defend them? Because deep down, they know. They saw the cracks in their own version of the story. They saw your silence not as surrender, but as surveillance. They started realizing that maybe, just maybe, you were the one taking notes the whole time. That's the thing about you. You don't scream, you study. You don't react, you record. You don't chase closure, you build evidence. And when the day comes, when someone finally stands up and says your name with conviction, the entire room implodes, because that one act of defense, it doesn't just challenge their words, it exposes their motives. They called you cold. But what if that calmness was precision? They called you manipulative. But what if it was strategy? They called you heartless. But what if it was focus? Duality, baby. The saint and the psychopath share the same face. It's the intent that separates them. And your intent was never destruction. It was exposure. Now they're scouring through memories, trying to remember who started it, who twisted what, who lied first. But truth doesn't need to shout. It just waits. And oh, it waited patiently, watching them build their little kingdom of assumptions on a swamp of projection. And tonight, it's sinking. The irony, they thought you were the unstable one. But look at them now, trembling, anxious, rewriting history in group chats that feel more like courtrooms. They used to dissect your every move. Now they're dissecting their own. Because once someone defends you publicly, the game changes. The illusion fractures. The control slips. You're not the outcast anymore. You're the anomaly. And anomalies don't play by rules. They rewrite them. That's the moment you realize you were never their villain. You were their mirror. You reflected the parts of themselves they couldn't stand to see. Ambition without permission, power without apology, darkness without shame. You became the embodiment of everything they repressed, so they called you dangerous. And they were right. Because once someone tells the truth out loud about you, every mask starts to melt. Now they're spiraling, trying to sanitize their conscience, trying to gather proof that you were the problem. But it's too late, isn't it? The silence is the proof. The panic is the proof. The fact that they can't stop talking about you, that's the proof. You were never the storm. You were the eye inside it. Calm, calculating, prophetic. You let them tear down the old you, not realizing that was your cocoon. They didn't destroy you. They delivered you. And now, standing here, you're not begging for validation. You're watching their narratives decay in real time. You're witnessing the poetic justice of truth delayed but never denied. You don't need to speak. They're speaking for you now. Every rumor they repeat, every sentence they regret, every post they delete. It's all confession. You've become the unsolvable case, the one that makes even the investigators question their training. Because no matter how many times they rewind the footage, you keep defying the frame. Someone defended you publicly, yes. But the real twist? They didn't defend you. They defended reality. You see, truth doesn't need allies. It just needs time. And now that time has arrived, dripping with irony, lit by the flames of every false story they ever told. So smile. Not out of revenge, but recognition. They're not scrambling for evidence because you're guilty. They're scrambling because for the first time, They've realized you were never the villain, just the proof that they were. You can almost taste it, can't you? That trembling in the air, like static before a lightning strike. They thought this was over. They thought your silence was a coffin, but silence was your camouflage. Now they're spiraling through DMs and archives, dissecting old screenshots, trying to remember what they said when they thought you'd never come back. Every message feels radioactive. Every memory feels dangerous. Because someone finally said the forbidden sentence. Maybe they were right all along. And that's the detonation. That one whisper turned the narrative into a crime scene. You see, when someone defends you publicly, they don't just break ranks. They expose the invisible hierarchy of fear that kept everyone quiet. The unspoken rule was simple. Don't side with you. But someone did. And now that person is glowing in the dark like a flare in the middle of a battlefield. They're hunting for evidence now, scrolling, searching, sweating, trying to find something, anything, that makes their old version of you make sense again. But the data doesn't fit. The screenshots look different now. The timestamps contradict the myth. The footage shows what they refused to see. You weren't the chaos. You were the constant. You were the one who never broke, even when everything else did. And that terrifies them. Because people don't fear evil. They fear endurance. They fear the one who can't be destroyed by gossip, distance, or exile. You endured, quietly, methodically. And when endurance wears the face of the accused, it turns into prophecy. Now they're trying to recall how it all started. Who was the first to say it? Who started the rumor? Who told the story that made everyone believe? And suddenly, no one remembers. How convenient. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? When they needed you to be the villain, they had perfect memory. But when truth begins to bleed through, amnesia becomes fashionable. But you remember. You remember every smirk that tried to disguise cruelty. You remember every joke that wasn't a joke. You remember every fake apology, every sideways glance, every performance of concern. And now, you don't need to say a word, because someone else did it for you. Someone said your name with conviction, and it was enough to split reality in two. Now half the crowd is pretending they never doubted you, and the other half is pretending they're not terrified. You see, truth doesn't knock. It kicks the door down. And you were the door. You held back years of proof, waiting for the right second, the one where the audience was tired enough of lies to finally listen. They wanted your silence. You gave them patience. They wanted your downfall. You gave them evolution. They wanted to watch you burn. You became the fire itself. Do you know why they scramble for evidence now? Because deep down, they're not trying to prove you wrong. They're trying to prove themselves innocent. They're trying to justify why they laughed, why they believed, why they joined the crowd when you were bleeding. But guilt has no expiration date. It just waits, quietly, like a debt that never forgets. And when someone defended you, that debt came due. Now they're paying for it in sleepless nights and nervous scrolls. They're reading comments like autopsies. They're dissecting every timeline like detectives chasing a ghost. But ghosts don't leave fingerprints. They leave fear. You've become that fear. Not because you're haunting them, but because you're free. Freedom terrifies the guilty. Because they live inside the cages they built for others. And when you walk by, unbothered, unfazed, undeniable, it reminds them that cages only work on the obedient. You were never obedient. You were observant. You learned how to weaponize silence, how to wear pain like armor, how to turn exile into education. They called it isolation. You called it training. And now, every move you make is evidence. Every success you have is contradiction. Every breath you take says, I survived everything you whispered. They can't handle that. Because your existence dismantles their illusion. You turned their gossip into your gospel, their ridicule into your rebirth, their silence into your soundtrack. And the person who defended you. That was the universe tipping its hand. A sign that the narrative shifted, that your name was too heavy to stay buried. Even the universe got tired of pretending you were the problem. So now they gather, confused, whispering about timing, about context, about details. They say, well, it's complicated. No, it's not. It's simple. Truth aged better than their lies. You are the living contradiction they can't decode. The angel who walks like a demon, the sinner with sacred timing, the nightmare with holy intent. You blurred the lines between villainy and vision, and in doing so, you became untouchable. They can't label you anymore. They can't frame you anymore. They can't kill what's already immortalized in misunderstanding. And that's your power. You became the question they're too afraid to answer. So let them scramble. Let them replay the footage, zoom in, slow it down, analyze the tone of your silence. Because the more they search for proof, the closer they get to seeing the one thing they've avoided all along. The mirror. They'll find the evidence. Oh yes. But it won't condemn you. It'll expose them. So don't interrupt the process. Let them panic. Let them dig. Let them sweat. Because what they're really unearthing is the truth they buried with your name attached. And when they finally find it, when the light hits it just right, they'll realize the punchline they've been running from. You didn't need to be defended. The truth did, and the truth chose you. Oh, they're still digging, aren't they? Every sleepless night, every just one more scroll through the past. They're not looking for truth. They're looking for comfort. But truth doesn't comfort. It confronts. They said, we need evidence. As if your pain wasn't proof. As if your silence wasn't testimony. As if surviving wasn't the loudest confession of all. Now they're gathering in private calls, whispering behind digital curtains, rewriting memories in real time. The irony? They're trying to rewrite the very script they forced you to live. Because someone, one single voice, stood up and cracked the illusion. They said, you all might have gotten this wrong. And just like that, the spell broke. You know what's happening now. They're auditing their own morality. They're checking if they laughed too loud when your name was mocked. They're remembering how good it felt to join the crowd, how easy it was to point fingers at someone who couldn't point back. And now they're haunted by the footage, the way they smiled while you drowned, the way they built theories out of your trauma, the way they watched your downfall like entertainment. But someone defended you, and suddenly it's not funny anymore. Now it's dangerous. Because if they were wrong about you, what else were they wrong about? They called you manipulative, but you never controlled anyone. You just stopped playing the victim. They called you cold, but you were conserving warmth for yourself. They called you heartless, but you were done performing empathy for spectators. You see, the world fears what it cannot label. And you, my dear, became unclassifiable. Too kind for their cruelty, too cruel for their purity, too real for their performance. So they built a version of you they could understand. And when someone defended the real one, their architecture cracked. Now every but remember when they, sounds like desperation, every I heard they did. sounds like confession. Every "let's not bring this up again" sounds like guilt. You've become their unfinished business, the paradox that won't dissolve, the ghost that doesn't vanish when ignored. Because you're not haunting them, you're mirroring them, and deep down, they see it. That's why they can't look you in the eyes anymore. Because when they do, they see the version of themselves that chose comfort over courage. They were spectators in your crucifixion. Now they're witnesses to your resurrection. You rose without permission. You healed without announcement. You forgave without asking. You moved on without leaving a forwarding address. And that is unforgivable to them. Because your evolution stole their control. They can't punish what no longer participates. You were never their enemy. You were their unfinished evolution. You were what they could have been if they had endured what you did and didn't turn bitter. So when someone defended you, it was like time rewound. The truth they buried came back with teeth. Their guilt sprouted roots, and every fake smile they ever gave you started to rot in their memory. You see, they wanted your silence because your story threatens their simplicity. You're living proof that monsters can have mercy, that broken people can be disciplined, that pain can breed precision, and that survival, real, unfiltered survival, isn't pretty, it's terrifying. You didn't rise to inspire them, you rose to expose them. You are the walking audit of their integrity, and that's why they scramble for evidence. Not because they doubt you, but because they doubt themselves. They keep saying, something about them just feels off. Yes, it's called authenticity. It triggers the fraudulent. You've noticed it too, haven't you? The way their energy shifts when you enter a room, the way laughter quiets, the way posture changes, the way eyes avoid, but ears sharpen. That's not coincidence. That's recognition. They can sense it. The truth vibrating through you like static before thunder. You're not speaking revenge, you're breathing proof. And that's far more dangerous, because revenge burns fast. But proof is eternal. They can't unsee what they've seen now. They can't unsay what they said. They can't undo the fact that the one they mocked became the one they study. They're not scrolling for your downfall anymore. They're scrolling for explanation. They're analyzing your every move, like a psychological report they can't decode. Because deep down, they want to know how. How did you survive their silence? How did you stay kind when cruelty was currency? How did you keep winning when the world bet against you? They don't understand that pain, when harnessed, turns into prophecy. You learn to weaponize wounds, to alchemize humiliation into higher ground, to take every dagger and forge it into data. And now, while they scramble for evidence, you're sitting in stillness, knowing the truth doesn't need to shout. It just waits. Because justice isn't an event. It's erosion. It eats away at falsehood, quietly, efficiently, inevitably. So let them panic, let them whisper, let them pray that the clip doesn't surface, that the screenshots stay buried. Because the funny thing about evidence is, it doesn't disappear. It waits for the right audience. And now, the whole world is watching. Their lies were loud, but your silence is deafening. Someone defended you publicly. Yes, but don't mistake it for validation. It wasn't charity, it was inevitability. Because when truth has marinated long enough in darkness, it doesn't need a spotlight. It becomes the lightning. And that's what you are now. Lightning in human form, unpredictable, untamed, unapologetic. They don't know whether to worship you or warn others about you. They don't know if you're redemption or retribution. They don't know if you're human or haunting. But they do know this. You can't be erased anymore. Because when someone defended you, they didn't save your name. They resurrected your legend. And now, no matter how far they run, your silence follows them like a conscience they can't mute. You didn't just survive. You documented. You remembered. You became the evidence. And that's what terrifies them most. That you're not chasing justice anymore. Because you are it. And now here you stand, unshaken, unbothered, untouchable. Every eye that once watched you crumble now watches you calculate. Every mouth that once cursed your name now hesitates before speaking it. You see the shift, don't you? That flicker of recognition, the quiet acknowledgement that they built their comfort out of your crucifixion. But here's the thing they'll never admit. They needed you to fall. Because your downfall was their proof that order still existed, that consequences still applied to those who dared to be different. But you didn't just fall. You descended with purpose. You sank deep enough to see their roots. You watched their motives rot in the soil. You memorized every hypocrite by the tremor in their voice. And when you rose again, you carried something none of them will ever possess. Clarity. They still think survival is luck. You know it's a science, because you learned what breaks people. You learned how easily loyalty folds under pressure, how quickly admiration turns into fear, and how fear breeds stories. You became fluent in betrayal. And fluency, my friend, is power. Now, as they scramble through the ashes, calling it investigation, you stand in the open, breathing calm, because you are the evidence. Every scar on your skin is a signature. Every silence you kept is a timestamp. Every success you've built since is an affidavit that truth doesn't die. It mutates. Let them whisper. Let them circle the same lies like vultures who can't find fresh meat. They're not after the truth. They're after distraction, because if they ever stop spinning stories about you, they'd have to face the emptiness inside themselves. That's your final victory, isn't it? You didn't have to ruin them. You just had to outlast them. And endurance is something cowards can't counterfeit. Now you walk through rooms that used to suffocate you, and the air parts like it remembers. You speak in tones that carry thunder wrapped in calm, and they feel it, the quiet authority of someone who's been through hell and took notes. That's why they can't approach you the same way anymore. Because you've become unpredictable, and unpredictability in a world built on fear is indistinguishable from divinity. You're the saint that crawled out of a sinner's body, the storm that learned mercy, the warning dressed as a smile. You're every paradox they swore couldn't coexist. And that's what terrifies them most. That someone could be both wounded and wise, dangerous and disciplined, unhinged yet holy. You're the contradiction they can't contain. So let them keep their theories. Let them build timelines. Let them gather proof. Because at the end of it all, their evidence will point back to one truth so unbearable, so undeniable, that even their pride won't survive it. You were never the villain. You were the mirror. And the reflection they saw was never yours. It was theirs. So when they ask how you did it, when they whisper how you came back stronger, colder, calmer, just smile. Not because you won, but because you finally understood. Some people don't hate you for what you did. They hate you for what your survival proves about them. And now, after all their lies, all their noise, all their desperate searching, they finally found the evidence they were looking for. It's you, standing here, untouched, unfolding, unforgiven, and absolutely, irrevocably free.